Drafting the Magic features the thoughts and opinions expressed by Christian Ilton, Eric Pessolano, and today's guest, and do not in any way reflect the views or opinions of the Walt Disney Company or any of its subsidiaries. Eric, we are finally back to drafting the Magic. It has been such a long time. I don't have to tell you that. I don't have to tell anyone that, but I will tell you right now. It is so good to be back, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's been 1,164 days since our last show. I'm just kidding. I didn't actually count that. That was just a rough estimate. But it has been a long time. It's good to get back to it. I've had probably the same as you. A lot of people asking, are you ever going to do the show again? And, you know, sometimes life gets in the way, and that's what happened. And our schedules are finally aligned. We're able to get back to doing what we love and talking about this this great entertainment company that has serviced us well over our entire lives.
Yeah, life changes, but I tell you, it's pretty tough to take the love of Disney out of somebody. And so even all these years later, it's so good to be back and doing what we really enjoy to do. And we love the fans to interact with the show and everything. And so it's good to finally get everything back going on social media, here with recording and everything. I told somebody today that we were recording. They couldn't believe it. They thought we mothballed this thing. A little Disney term for you there. But regardless, Eric, it's so good to be back, and we're starting off with a pretty cool topic.
Yeah, we wanted to go pretty big coming back here, even though technically we're in the middle of a season. It's not like a season premiere or anything. But, you know, everybody loves audio animatronics and their advancement in technology and how they interact not only with the attraction itself, but with the guests that are able to experience it. So we thought we'd pick our top 5 audio animatronics, specifically from the Disneyland Resort in Southern California. So a place that you and I know very, very well. Glad to have it be the topic as we come back and start this back up again. But more importantly, I'm just looking forward to winning.
Yeah, you're on a streak.
Hopefully.
You're on a streak, but you were on a streak to begin last season, and then World Showcase threw you off the rails. So we'll see today.
Can you believe that? By the way, it's like the one place I love on this planet. And I couldn't even convince somebody else that anyway.
My wife told somebody that we're going to Disney World pretty soon, and then she was like, oh, you have to go to Epcot. And my wife was like, yeah, I know.
Thanks for that tip. Yeah.
So we are getting back to drafting the Magic. We're doing it with attractions. And like you said, it's only at the Disneyland Resort. We talked about maybe just doing Disneyland Park, but we decided to broaden it to the entire resort because it could get a little tight in the park. There are plenty of animatronics, but for the big names, we wanted to go the whole thing. And I'm excited because we have a good friend of mine helping out as the guest judge for the third show and the big return of Drafting the Magic, my friend Marissa Neese. She currently gets to serve as a travel agent with Castlebound Travel Company, and as well as a good friend of my wife, Sarah, and a good friend of ours. Marissa, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. You're finally back into this, like we had mentioned up a little bit earlier, and we figured a great way to start our kind of revitalization of this show was by going with a big topic. Eric and I talked about it. We said we need a big topic, and animatronics at the Disneyland Resort is a huge topic, Eric.
Yeah, it is. One of my favorite things at any of the resorts is always seeing the ingenuity and the creativity that go behind these audio animatronics, from the original ones that were created all the way up until the new ones that are coming out. I've got a pretty well-rounded list here, so I need you to not screw it up, Christian. Please do not take anything away from me. Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you, you get the first pick in this draft because as we look back, you had the first pick of the first episode of season 2, and then I had the first pick of the second episode, and then we never did it again. So you are going to be leading it off. But Marissa, before we get to that, obviously don't give us any ideas of what you like or don't like, but what do you think just in general of some of the animatronics we have at the Disneyland Resort?
Well, when you sent me the list of or at least the topic of what we were doing, I was thinking of so many animatronics that Disney has come up with However, they weren't at Disneyland, but obviously Abraham Lincoln came to mind. Mr. Tom Morrow came to mind, but obviously he's not with us anymore. Very randomly, Hondo came to my mind as well, but I won't give too many away so that you guys can go on your whole spiels, but those were the few that popped into my head.
Yeah, well, there's some great ones, and who knows, one of those might be on at least one of our lists. We'll see. Also, rest in peace, Tom Morrow. I got to work in interventions for a while when I was there, and oh my gosh, Tom Morrow. What a great animatronic at the time. But regardless, Eric, we always have a few rules in our show for those of the people that are rejoining us and those who are finding this for the first time. The first one is that we have to have experienced it in person. We have to have seen this animatronic. But Eric, you came up with a pretty good rule as far as the big rule for this episode.
First, let me just say I'm glad we're not doing parades again, because I haven't seen very many of them, and that was a struggle for me. Marissa, if you ever get a chance to go back, I think it was episode 4 of the first season. That was a long nightmare. This one, however, I have a long list of audio animatronics that I have experienced, of course. I mean, who doesn't at this point? But the big rule for today is we cannot select more than one audio animatronic from any one land. So if you're thinking about grabbing Kylo and Hondo, you can't do it. You're not allowed to do that. That's against the rules. You can get one or the other, and then the other one can get the other one, or maybe neither one will get selected at all. We don't know. There's a huge list here.
It's a huge list, and yeah, I mean, just in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge alone, there are a lot of different animatronics, and so that will be fun to see as we go along. But Eric, I think it's time to get back to drafting the magic. You are the first pick today, and Mr. Pesolano, you are officially on the clock for drafting the magic season. Are we calling it season 2? Who knows? Episode 3. Here we go. Animatronics at Disneyland Resort. Eric, take it away.
Your facts are correct. It is season 2 technically, even though there was a over 1,000 day gap in between. It's fine. My first selection, I think this hurts your list, so that's why I went with it. I kind of want to throw you off your game. We'll see, because I know how much you love the sister attraction in Florida. So with my number 1 pick, and Marissa mentioned it a second ago, I'm taking Abraham Lincoln from Great Moments. Can you see it on there? Do you see? Don't look at my whole list. Can you see the? Let me see. There's the number 1. I don't know if you can see that. But that was there before she even mentioned it. So I don't want you thinking that she went and gave me an idea. It was already there. I'm taking Abraham Lincoln, one of the classics, and one of the very first, oh my goodness, look what that thing can do, audio animatronics in history. Abraham Lincoln's my number 1 pick.
Eric, I would never accuse you of cheating at this show. I promise. Anyway, Abraham Lincoln, a good first pick. Marissa, what do you think of the Abraham Lincoln animatronic at Disneyland Park?
Obviously, it paved the way for Disney itself. Like, I see Abraham Lincoln as like Walt's baby. It's like, yeah, like Disneyland is Walt's child, but Abraham Lincoln was his like baby. That basically set the tone for a lot of things that Disney has done now and is still continue to do.
Eric, that's a good pick. That's a very good pick for round 1.
Do you want to know my favorite fact about that pick for me?
Sure.
Do you want to know when the first time I saw that thing in person was?
Oh my gosh, how long ago was it?
6 months? Maybe? Maybe a little more than that.
Oh my gosh.
It's my most recent eligible selection. But I'll
Wow. Well, Marissa and I both have, for those of you listening to the show, because you're not allowed to watch this, Marissa and I both have our hands on our faces. That is congratulations, Eric. I'm glad you finally grew up and went to Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln.
Yeah, I'm checking things off my list as we go along here, and you and I talked about this, I think, way back in season 1, that we just have to start. Not that this is an obscure attraction; it's not. It's very iconic. It's very famous. But like for other things around the resorts, that we need to just start venturing off into corners so we're able to select things as these shows go on in the future.
That is, yeah, we've got to get to that. Okay, so Abraham Lincoln, your number one pick. I can happily say, and there are a lot I went through, Lincoln was not on my list.
You got to be kidding me.
Not in the top 5. I think there are 5 better ones, and we'll let Marissa make the judgment eventually and let you win the episode later. But I get to go to my first pick, and that is, you talk about the, oh my gosh, look what that thing can do, or oh my gosh, how does it do that? There is an animatronic at the Disneyland Resort, specifically in Disney California Adventure, that can fly through the sky. The Spider-Man animatronic in Disney California Adventure and Avengers Campus has to be my number one. That is the, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to call it, the coup de grace, the piece de resistance. That is the best thing that they have ever created with animatronics. Sure, you've got your history with Lincoln. Sure, you got your amazing Walt story. I'm sorry, they made an animatronic fly through the sky. It's my number one pick.
I didn't know you spoke French. I'm quite impressed. Well done, my friend. I don't, so I don't even know if that was accurate or not. But anyway, not bad. I like you've always been more of a modern guy, right? The newer things that come out that wow the crowd. So it doesn't stun me that it's on your list. I'm stunned it's number one. I'll be honest with you with that. But I figured you would go there eventually. But doesn't hurt my list because I didn't have it on there. But let's get Marissa's thoughts on your number one pick, Christian.
I mean, I love Spider-Man, so this is obviously a great pick for me. Just my own personal opinion. When I saw the Flying Spider-Man in person, I lost it. I thought it was so cool. I just completely stop when I'm over at Adventures Campus. But what's even more fascinating is when they first were talking about it was in the Imagineering story in those episodes, and they didn't show, it was just like a black robot. And they didn't tell us what it was, and I was like, what are they doing with this thing? And then I saw that they were making it Spider-Man. I was like, now I need to go to DCA like all the time now. Where before I didn't go to DCA all that often, but now I go all the time.
Yeah,
it's a showstopper for sure, and it's one of the few that can't really break down, although it has crashed a few times.
Yeah, we hide those things. We don't talk about those things.
Oh yeah, nobody has a social media account. You're right. Nobody saw that happen.
Yeah, at least it didn't catch on fire. Anyway, so that is for those of you who don't know, this recording is happening during a very eventful week. We'll just leave it at that. And one of the animatronics eligible on this list was erased this past weekend. So with that, we'll go barreling in to round 2. Eric, you went with Lincoln first. You were surprised I took Spider-Man so early, so I'm curious to see what your number 2 pick is.
This is a mix of this animatronic has actually been redone and replaced, and Christian's shaking his head, smiling, knowing where I'm going with this. Holds a special place near to my heart. He's one of my good friends, and he inhabits a very tall white mountain that's covered in snow. So I'm going with, now, I'm going to call him Harold because I know that's a lot of what the public likes to refer to him as, even though there is no official name for him. So just for the sake of brevity, we'll go with Harold here as my number 2 pick from the Matterhorn bobsleds. I had the privilege to work that attraction for a short period of time, and the new version of it to me, the old version just kind of stood there and it scared little kids. This one terrifies little kids, which I think is hilarious. But it is a great upgrade from the old one they had. The motion on it, right? The hair, everything about it. It's, how do I say this? It's like a toned down version of the Yeti, but ours actually works. So I'm taking Harold at number 2.
Taking shots at Everest and everything. But I will say, just in general, Harold is better now than he used to be. He got that nice facelift for the 60th anniversary and right around then. And I think that's a very good pick. Marissa, what do you think of Harold over at the peak of the Matterhorn.
I mean, I do love the fact that Eric named him and didn't just call him the big, like, snow guy, snowman, or monster, you know. I love that we actually gave him a name. And you guys are right. It terrifies me. I remember when I first went on when they refurbed it for the first time, and I was like, oh, it's going to be fine. Like, don't worry about it. Oh my gosh, I lost, like, everything. My soul just left my body more than, like, anything. I will never forget that experience.
Yeah, it's that is a good one. It is scary. I mean, it is scary. And yeah, I'm sure the kids are loving Harold over on Matterhorn. Eric got to see that a little up close and personal. Probably a few tears that come off that attraction.
I'm not the only one here who got to work with Harold. You got to work with old Harold technically for a short period of time.
I did in Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout's queue. Yeah, that kind of, sort of, sure. Yeah, we'll call it that. But yes, Harold has been, or old Harold has been documented in the, what is it called? The Collector's Fortress, whatever we call that thing over there. In Disney California Adventure. So I am actually going to change up my list. And yeah, I'm making changes, but it's not because of what you've done. It's more of what you haven't done yet. So I am going to go with an animatronic that I think is highly underrated. When I went into this, I wanted to think about, okay, what's fancy, what's shiny, and then also what really makes the area that it's in so much better. And you have to go to Pixar Pier, and you have to see Mr. Potato Head out in front of Toy Story Midway Mania. I think that Potato Head is a great piece on the boardwalk. It really makes you feel like he's a carnival barker welcoming you in to play the Midway games. And so I'm going to twist things up a little bit. I'm going Mr. Potato Head and Pixar Pier as my next pick.
You said you didn't have it in your top 5 originally?
I had it in my top 5, but I have things above it that I'm moving things around a little bit.
I had Potato Head last. I thought you could have waited on that, but you went early. All right, you jumped the ship a little bit there. So I think that's the first steal of today. So well done to you on that piece. Yeah, it's interactive. People love that when it works. But when it is up and running, everybody who walks by gets to see something that you don't typically get to see throughout the park on a regular basis. Marissa, what do you think about Mr. Potato Head?
I love him. I think that he's so sassy and he is just such a savage that it's just perfect. But I do want him to work like fully again, because I thought it was so impressive how they were able to make him like pull out his ear and then put it back in. That was really, really cool. So I hope that he could do that again.
Yeah, I think that the ear pull and everything, that when it does work completely, it has to be in a top 10 of this list, and it sounds like it would have been on the top 5 of both of ours. But it is about that area feel. But the worst thing when I'm walking around Pixar Pier is when those tarps are up, and that means he's not working. So I'm gonna go with Potato Head as my pick for that. For that round. I didn't think he'd go that high, but I'm moving things around. I'm trying to be strategic here, Eric.
No, I like it. That's what you have to do. This isn't just about what you like and where you think you might get things. You gotta push things around if you think it might get taken away, and you also have to wow the judge at the same time. So it's not necessarily about what you think is the best, right? You got to play to the crowd here. I respect the game. All right, round 3 here. I'm gonna move my picks that I had originally around a little bit. I'm gonna stick to my original list, but I'm gonna bump one up here before it gets taken off the board. At least I think it may be taken off the board, and I am gonna go with one of the few audio animatronics. I'm trying to think if it's the only one. Maybe not. Now I'm thinking in my head and not speaking out loud on a podcast. That's always a smart strategy. I'm going to go with one of the audio animatronics, one of the few that actually affects the ride vehicle you're in, wink, wink, and the interaction you have with that particular character. And I'm going to go with Kylo Ren from Rise of the Resistance. because there's not a whole lot of ride vehicles that are, again, quote unquote, affected by the audio animatronic. But, spoiler alert for those of you who haven't been able to wait in a 3-hour line or been lucky enough to win a lottery to get onto it. The part where he is, using the force there to manipulate the vehicle a little bit, I think was a very cool thing to see the first time and experience the first time I ever went on it. And I still love it every time it happens. Again, when it works, it's an impressive touch. And I think one of the better B shows also when it's not working, that they figured out how to, not entirely make the attraction go down, but make things work even when the crown jewel isn't fully functional. So well done to them on that. But Kylo Ren is my pick at number 3.
Kylo's a good pick, and a very popular pick at that, I can imagine, with our audience. Marissa, what do you think, especially when you hop on that ride and see Kylo Ren, doing his thing before he gets completely blown out of a spaceship?
I obviously love Rise of the Resistance. It's one of my favorite rides. However, there's one thing wrong about the Kylo Ren animatronic that I don't like, and it just makes me upset every time, is his hands. If they just bent his fingers just a little bit, I would feel way better with my life. The fact that his hands are just flat like this, I'm like, I can't just, no. It just bothers me. That's just my personal opinion. Literally everything else is great. It is fantastic. Blows it out of the water, except for his hands. That's just me.
I didn't think I'd hear that today, but Eric, that's a pretty hot take.
That is a hot take, and it hurts me immensely. Not from a personal level, but from a competition level. That's all. I think it hurts the grading for me when we get down to the end here. But no, the opinion is valid. I get that. Marissa, you're absolutely right. There are little details like that can, especially if you notice, that can make or break. And I guess I made a mistake. I'm just going to have to recover. I only got 2 picks left.
Yeah, we'll see. Here's my another breaking news. You have still not taken anything out of my top 5. Your first 3 picks were not in my top 5.
That's baffling to me.
I personally do not love that Kylo animatronic. I like the one you see just before him, that's up on the hull of the ship or the bridge or whatever that's called with Hux. I think that Kylo is a lot more. I don't know. I like that one a lot better, but he's not on my list because I refuse to acknowledge The Force Awakens, Rise of Skywalker, The Last Jedi, or any of those. I refuse to acknowledge it, so it doesn't even exist. Anyway, going to my third pick, I am going to go to a land that is near and dear to my heart because I got to work in there for a number of years. We are going back over to Disney California Adventure, and we are going to Cars Land. And there are a number of animatronics on Radiator Springs Racers that are worth taking, and I would assume that Eric's going to take one, or maybe he won't, I don't know. But the one that made my jaw drop when I first saw it, it's not Mater, it's not Sheriff, but when you come out of either Luigi's or Ramon's place, and Doc Hudson turns and looks at you up on that swivel and talks to you, you can see his grill moving. That animatronic, I remember losing my breath when I saw it for the first time. I thought it was the coolest thing. And so Doc Hudson in Cars Land, my second Pixar pick, is going to be my third pick, Eric.
Yeah, and you've stuck over to DCA the whole time, which I don't think stuns me, honestly. I just thought you'd have another one of the ones that I'd taken. And meanwhile, I've stayed on the other side of the street, so we were split right down the middle. Love Doc. I think there's not enough of him right there. I think, I know if you're the first car to pull up, assuming the cars match up and actually race, that you're not there long enough sometimes to see it. But you're right. No, it's an impressive one. Marissa, your thoughts on Doc Hudson?
I love Radiator Springs Racers. Like, it is a ride. This is just recently. It has been more difficult to get on that ride than Rise of the Resistance. I am not kidding. It is astonishing how popular that ride is still to this day. But I will say, this is shame on me, because I personally have not seen Cars from start to finish in one sitting.
Oh, thank goodness.
There's no emotional attachment to this at all. It's fine, whatever.
I needed to regroup, and this helps. We can just throw out round 3.
I love the ride. I just have never seen it. It was so funny. My husband and I love going to the Animation Academy, and we were drawing Lightning McQueen, and the animator there, or the character drawer there, was like talking about the ride and talking about the movie and all this other stuff, and she like gave some spoilers away, and then I thought I didn't say it that loud, but I like kind of whispered it to my husband. I was like, spoiler, blah, blah. And the way that this woman looked at me and was like, this movie has been out for over 20 years or whatever it was at the time, and you still haven't seen it? That's your fault. And I'm like, okay, then I'll go reevaluate this, and maybe I'll go watch. Maybe. Just a slight maybe.
Not only did I pick something that she does not have an emotional attachment to, she does have an emotional attachment, and it's public humiliation, Eric. I think you're doing just fine.
It's fine. I've actually met a handful of people who haven't watched it either, so I feel better about myself.
I believe that. Yeah. I've seen it once all the way through, I think, from start to finish. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of Disney movies you
No,
can
just move on to the next round.
All right.
Now I'm not happy.
All right. My 4th pick, I'm staying at home at Disneyland, which I'm sticking to my guns here because I don't want to make any drastic changes. I got to stick with it. I'm going to go with an animatronic that maybe nowadays, this is an audio animatronic that the first time people saw it, I would say maybe first timers now more so than it was back then, where even if you saw it multiple times, you're like, oh my God, is that him? Is that Johnny Depp? I'm going to take Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean. Again, an animatronic that wasn't there originally, that has been moved in to modernize it, right? Specifically, now obviously there's different iterations of this one character throughout the entire attraction, but the one that impressed me more than anything, even though the very first one you see is the one we were really like, wait, is that him? Because he's kind of hiding right behind a post. But the very last one, where he's sitting back in his chair with his chalice in his hand, and it's constantly in motion. And that thing, I have never seen not working. It has always been functioning. So they keep it up. It looks good, and it's a nice, for lack of a better term, referring to the fireworks shows, it's a nice kiss goodnight for that ride when you're leaving, and it just wraps up the story, and you're on your way up the big lift hill. I'm taking Jack Sparrow at number 4.
Captain Jack Sparrow.
All right.
He was next on my list, actually.
Finally!
Well, no, it wasn't that animatronic, but I'm not going to sit here and play this, let's go to a different animatronic on the same ride. No, not doing that. When I was motioning, was expecting you to take the Hatbox Ghost, because you are the Hatbox Ghost guy. That's your favorite thing, or at least I thought it was, and Haunted Mansion's your favorite. But you twisted it around, you went Captain Jack Sparrow. I can't believe it. So I'm going to rest in... I guess I won't rest. I'm going to be very aggravated for the next minute or so, while Marissa tells us her thoughts on Captain Jack Sparrow.
This particular Captain Jack Sparrow I love just because it's your final thing that you see as you exit the ride when you're going up. And obviously Pirates is such a classic ride at Disneyland. You can put it against Haunted Mansion and people can debate it all day of which one is better. However, the additions that they made to Jack Sparrow and to this ride, I just like how it was like an homage to the movie was based off the ride, but now we're adding the movies back into the ride and still keeping the historics of the original ride, but also putting in a new character in there was a really nice touch in my personal opinion. I love it.
It's a movie based on a ride. Now the ride has elements from the movie.
It's a great animatronic. I do favor the barrel animatronic where he's looking at the map and the key, that whole thing. But no, it is a great animatronic, and you have shocked me, and I don't know what I'm going to choose for number 5. I was going to save my next guess for number 5, but now I don't know what I'm going to do at number 5, so I guess I have to take this at 4. We are going to stay in Disneyland. We are not jumping back across the Esplanade to California Adventure for one of my picks, and we are going to go to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. But is this the one that you all would think I would choose? This one has been used before. He was on Star Tours, and then, of course, he got rebuilt in... Oh my gosh, I almost said the wrong word. He got rebuilt in Oga's Cantina. It's DJ Rex from Star Tours fame. And now when he's over in the Oga's Cantina, he sometimes glitches to his old Star Tours monologue and everything else. I thought pulling DJ Rex in was a great option. And so that is why DJ Rex is going to be on my list at number 4.
My other former coworker.
Yeah, I was. That's actually who I thought you were going with when you first started alluding to Harold. So, again, a little bit of a throw. But regardless, I did have DJ Rex in my top 5. He is my favorite animatronic in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, despite the fact that there's one of something roasting a Ronto on a speeder from the first. All this. There are so many great animatronics, but near and dear to my Disneyland fan heart is DJ Rex. Marissa, what do you think?
I love him. He's a vibe at Oga's. I will say, like, if I were to tweak anything about him, he needs to change his script every once in a while, because when I get, like, a couple of fuzzy tauntauns deep, and I'm still in there when I shouldn't be, but I still am because I don't really care, because I'm spending money at the park, he needs to change up his wording a little bit. I think that other guests would enjoy that more, but other than that, that's my only complaint about him. I do love him. He is adorable.
I don't hate that criticism, Eric. It's not a bad one to make. But, I mean, when they created Oga's Cantina, they were like, oh, let's see how many times we can rotate 16 people through this building. So they weren't planning on you staying there very long. But, Eric, yeah, okay, that's a good criticism, I guess.
I did have DJ Rex on my consideration list. I will say that. But he did not make my top 5, but he was certainly in consideration. My final pick, and this is where I'm going to have to shuffle things around a little bit. I can say this out loud now because neither one of us took him, but I did have Hondo on my list as a potential if you took too many of my selections. Didn't quite get bumped all the way up there, but he was thought about. My final pick is the one you thought I'd take last round. I am taking the Hatbox Ghost. Haunted Mansion is my favorite attraction. And whenever you touch a classic attraction, you better not mess anything up. And they did not. They did not mess this up. Putting in the Hatbox Ghost and having it with, again, another modern touch with the actual effect, because back when it was first in the attraction for a minute and a half, it didn't work quite the way they wanted it to, and it looked weird. And now they come back all these years later and they get it right and they make it look great. And he's on his way to take up residence in Florida sometime soon as well. So Hatbox Ghost is my final selection. I couldn't leave out my beloved Haunted Mansion, going against everything I had said about this draft strategy just a few minutes ago about not just taking what you love. But I do think it's worthy of making this list, and I'm going with the Hatbox Ghost.
All right, the Hatbox Ghost is his final pick. Marissa, what do you think?
I don't know if you guys remember when Hatbox Ghost made his reappearance, but I remember that the line to ride Haunted Mansion was just extremely long that day. And I will never forget that they made a queue for fast passes for Haunted Mansion because they brought him back. Do you guys remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah.
That was such a strange time, but I was here for it.
I have to cut everybody off here because I have a apparently extremely short attention span.
Flag on the play, dude. Flag on the play. I was looking it up. I was like, no way.
I can't take Hatbox Ghost. It's against the rules. I already took Jack Sparrow. They're in the same land. Now, and this also goes back to the point, and Christian, I appreciate you for saying it earlier, that I would never cheat at this game, because clearly, apparently I tried to, but I did call myself out on it. So there's that. So now I got to pivot. This is what happens when you take 2.5 years off. You forget what you're doing, and then you just don't pay attention. I even have it written down here that I can't do that.
I literally went to the app. I was like, hold on. I was like, is this some crap where they're calling Pirates of the Caribbean an Adventureland somehow? I was like, Eric wouldn't make that mistake. There's no way.
My favorite part right now is thinking of all of the people who are listening to this, and from the second I made the pick and explained everything, going, you can't do that. They're probably yelling into their mobile devices or however it is they listen to the show right now. That's my favorite.
I was going to suggest we cut things up, but you're right. That's not a bad idea. So let's let the people lose.
No, leave that in. Leave that in. Let them fume.
All right. So, Eric, for the second time today, what is your fifth pick?
All right, I've narrowed this down to 2. Do I go way, way back in the time machine? Or do I go with modern, more present day? It's audio animatronics. I got to go to the roots here for things that got things started. I'm taking Jose from the Enchanted Tiki Room. I have to go in the Wayback Machine, because I think we're all historians of this great resort and all of their parks. I'll take Jose at number 5.
Jose from the Tiki Room, Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. A good, I guess, consolation 5th pick for you, Eric. Marissa, what do you think of Jose?
I will say I have not visited the Tiki Room itself in a very long time. It's just not one of those things that I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to the Tiki Room today. That's what I'm going to do. However, he's very cute and all that stuff. So just like Abraham Lincoln and a couple other animatronics, like, it was so prominent back in the day that it needs to be on a top 5 list, and I can't be mad at that. Even though I personally am not a huge fan of the Tiki Room, and I know that it is a classic area and a classic attraction for people to go visit. And the Dole Whip now is just all mobile order, so that's great. So there's no long line anymore like that. So, it's a great, solid pick.
Now that my picks are done, I will say, Marissa, I agree with that statement there 100%. It's not one of my favorite places to go. I don't particularly love hanging out in there. If it's been a while, I'll be like, let's go in there. I haven't been in there in a while. But you're right. So that was an honor the history pick there. That's for sure. Christian, take us home.
I love the Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. You guys are insane. So I love that. I have to beg people I go to Disneyland with to go with me to the Tiki Room and to Abraham Lincoln. So I'm just saying, I don't know. I think those are good spots. But I have the final pick of this draft. Oh my gosh. I have a list. I'm not happy. So the one I have on my list is not one that you immediately would think about when you think of the Disneyland Resort, but the size of this animatronic, I think, is so good and tells the story of the attraction, or at least helps tell the story of the attraction very well. We are going back over to Disney California Adventure, and we are going to Paradise Gardens Park, which is where you can find Ariel's Undersea Adventure, the Little Mermaid ride. And Ursula on that ride is one of my favorite animatronics. She's huge. She is very in your face in that scene, and everybody sings along to their favorite part of that song. I think that in a weird way, I've made some pivots. I am going to put Ursula on my top 5 list. And I like it. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm proud of Ursula being on my list, Eric. I'm proud of it. I'm convincing myself, but I'm proud of it.
I think the tough part is when you get down to the bottom of this list, and it's your top 5, but in reality, it's yours and mine combined, you're picking the 10th one. And when you get down to that level, there's a lot of things that are equal and that you have to try to figure out which one you place over the other. I'm looking at Marissa right now, and there's almost a look on her face like, you guys, there's so many things that you should have put on here. So I can't wait for that a little bit later on. But let's get her thoughts on Ursula real quick at Christian's final pick.
Hey, listen, all right? That sounds like air conditioning life to me. So I don't know.
If you're going to go to air conditioning, just go over to Animation Academy. That's what we do. But
that's fair. That's a fair point.
Because then you don't have to deal with all like the screaming kids of going, Ariel, a part of your world.
That was like spot on too. So congrats.
Oh, don't worry, I've nailed it by now. Nailed. But
also, I've got a ton of rolled up drawings in my closet. So yeah, we spend a lot of time in there too. I get it.
Yes. My husband and I just keep all the files together. I need to figure out a way so that we can like hang them up in our house and people can just make fun of our drawings together.
That's not a bad idea. We should do that in this house.
I wish there was an animatronic in that building that I could have taken. I could have taken that because clearly that would have done better than Ursula. But and apparently 6 other things on this list. But I think this draft is a good way to jump back into this, Eric, because there are some things at Disney parks that wow us, right? Even Kylo or Harold or, the top of our list, Lincoln, Spider-Man flying through the sky. But there are a lot of things that are still great, like you said, and there are a lot of animatronics that kind of float on that line. I am surprised. My favorite animatronic, besides Doc Hudson, is Mater. I think Mater going backwards on Radiator Springs Racers, I think that's a big one. There's just really good animatronics all around, and so I guess that's it. That is our draft. So Marissa, before we get your official judgment, you're going to have to look at this, and Eric will give you the lists in order. But are there any animatronics that are your favorites at the resort that we did not put on this list?
I love Hatbox Ghost. Haunted Mansion is my favorite ride. And across... so I've been to all the Disney parks, and across the board, just Haunted Mansion in general or their renditions of Haunted Mansion, they're my favorites. I love them. They're different stories. They're so near and dear to my heart, and Halfway to Halloween just happened, and I was just so happy that I got my churro with the peanut butter drizzle and the M&Ms, the peanut butter M&Ms and all that stuff. I'm a huge Haunted Mansion fan, so the fact that there was no Haunted Mansion animatronics in there broke my heart a little bit, but that's okay.
I tried to cheat to get it in there.
I know. I was
fun personal story for me real quick. The first time I got hired at the Disneyland Resort, I applied for attractions. I got hired, and they asked me, what is your favorite attraction? And I said, Haunted Mansion. Always wanted to work there. Always wanted to wear, the long costume and all that.
Yes.
That'd be great. And they go, that's a great story. Welcome to Star Tours. That's exactly what happened.
Oh boy.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I genuinely thought about swiping Hatbox Ghost from you just to watch you curdle up in a ball and cry about it, because I'm not accusing you of being someone who curls up in on a ball and cries, but I don't know, I feel like I would have hit a nerve, but I was like, no.
There are situations in which that would occur, and I think you know that.
Well, regardless, that is our draft. That is our top 10. I know we're going to get some flack online about this, but that's fine. Eric, go ahead, and Marissa's going to be ready to swing this bat when it's ready. Eric, go ahead and run it down, our lists for our return to Drafting the Magic.
All right, check it out. I had the first pick in our return. I'll take Abraham Lincoln at number 1, Harold from The Abominable Snowman and or Yeti from the Matterhorn at number 2, Kylo Ren from Rise of the Resistance at number 3, Captain Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean, Jose from Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. Those are my top 5 picks in order. Christian, number 1, he went Spider-Man flying through the air of Avengers Campus DCA, Mr. Potato Head at Toy Story Midway Mania, Doc Hudson from Radiator Springs Racers, DJ Rex from Oga's Cantina, and Ursula from The Little Mermaid over in DCA. Those are Christian's top 5 picks in order. And Marissa, if you would be so kind, please let us know which top 5 list you choose to win our return episode of Drafting the Magic.
I look at both of these lists and I'm like, it's practically a Disneyland versus DCA minus DJ Rex over there. I love both of these lists. They're great picks, both sides. But if I am going to choose one, I do have to choose Eric's. Because of...
Let's go!
There are some flaws just because of Kylo and Jose not being one of my favorites. However, I just don't really have a tie to Doc. Ursula animatronic kind of bothers me in there, and it brings back the times that I had to sit in the clamshell 7 times and listen to Part of Your World, which I'm happy to have done that for my niece, and she loves Disney as much as anybody, so I feel like I've done my part in passing Disney on to a child, because I don't have my own children yet. I'm a dog mom, so I did my due diligence to the world with that. So there's my nod to Ursula on that list, but I do like Eric's list better.
I will take a knock 'em down, drag 'em out fight that barely scrapes me by any day of the week, so long as it scrapes me by. And I am so glad that I'll be able to wake up tomorrow with a victory.
Oh, how dare you. All right,
Tom Morrow.
Eric, that makes you 3-0 on this season 2 season, I guess. I know you had I don't know, look back in a time machine to see our last one, but
it's my first win in 3 years.
But you are starting this off 3-0. How's it feel, Eric?
It feels good. Glad to get back at it. I think that's the most important part here. I'm glad it turned out in my favor, but more importantly, thank you, Marissa, for being here. We have wanted to get this going again. It's been such a long time, and the stars finally aligned, so we really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for doing this, and I think that's really what I can take away from today.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.
It's been fantastic. Marissa, you get 30 seconds. Here's your soapbox moment. Tell everybody what you're doing over at Castlebound Travel Company.
So I work for Castlebound Travel Company. We are a travel agency that specializes in Disney vacations. So whether you want to go to Disneyland, Walt Disney World, any of the international parks, Disney Cruise Line, Adventures by Disney, Aulani, you name it, we do it all, Disney. And the best part of it is that all my services are completely free. So if you are a family that just you're busy with kids, work, all that stuff, I will wake up at the crack of dawn, 3 a.m., and make those reservations for you at Walt Disney World if you want to sleep in or you're dealing with your kids, your dogs, or whatever, your cats, all that fun stuff. We are also affiliates with other companies as well, such as Royal Caribbean, Carnival. What else are we doing? Oh my gosh, we have so many other affiliates now. We just recently became an affiliate with Turtle Bay Resort in Oahu. I got married there, so it was a very special affiliate partnership that we got. We also do Sandals Beach Resorts, and we do a whole bunch of other things. So if you guys ever want to contact me, my Instagram is Marissa, Marissa, Mouse Clubhouse, like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. So if you ever want to DM me, and if you don't even just want to book a trip and you just want to chat with me about Disney, or if you are at the parks and you need some recommendations or anything like that, my DMs are open. I am here to help you enjoy your vacations to Disney or wherever the adventures will take you.
Well, that's just a bunch of lists of places that I'm never going to be able to afford to go, but somebody watching this is gonna, and bless them for it.
My first thought was, I put so much work into this hard-earned victory here today. I might need a vacation. So
let me know.
I know someone you can contact, and DM her. If you mention Drafting the Magic, we'll get absolutely nothing. But it'll make us feel better. Marissa, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you had as much fun as we did, even though you gave Erik the win. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you guys.
Well, Christian, I'm not gonna gloat today like I normally would, only because it's been so long since we've done the show, and it's been so good to be back. Yeah, right. I am gonna be all over this. Give me that dub. I needed it because it's been so long. Especially since I know that eventually I'll rack up an L, so I'm going to enjoy it while I have it. Look, there's a lot of good ones in this category, right? We've had other shows where things got a little tight and the pickings were slim, as they say. But today there was a huge pool to pick from. We could almost do this show again in the future and eliminate everything we selected and just start all over again.
Yeah, if we really could. There are a number of honorable mentions on my list. I'd love to hear some of yours. One of my favorites is actually from an attraction that I guess I kind of took with DJ Rex, but G24T, give me anytime Patrick Warburton lends his voice to the Disney parks is one of my favorite things. He's in the queue on Star Tours, and even the animatronics of C-3PO and R2-D2 in that area that use movie prop pieces and stuff like there's a lot of things just in Tomorrowland, but throughout the resort that I could have gone with. I'm now, of course, Monday morning quarterbacking it, but that's fine. It is what it is. But yeah, what are some of your honorable mentions, I guess?
I had C-3PO. He was actually in my backup list with the Hatbox Ghost, which I erroneously attempted to select. I had Roz from Monsters, Inc., Mike and Sully to the Rescue. I think that's another one where I think in this day and age, we just love being bashed for some reason. But, I think that's a fun one. I considered, I don't know that I considered taking it. I don't think it was going to get to this point because there were so many better ones that we ended up picking. But I actually had Buzz Lightyear on there from the queue of Astro Blasters, just because of the interactivity. I think for the young ones, I think is a good one. And I know his face doesn't always work, but
it was great in 2006. But I'm sorry, we got him. It's
there's so many better ones here. I mean, I had Indy on the list.
Indiana Jones, I had Swinging Above You, and I was at least one person that I flew this by was like, but does he move that much? Like, can you really call it an animatronic? And I was like, that's a good point. Like, he doesn't really move much compared to your vehicle and everything. So, I mean, how much does he really move? So that one was on my list. BB-8 in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge was on my list.
That's a good one.
In the queue area of Rise of the Resistance, BB-8. I mean, that is cool to see roll across. Hatbox Ghost was on my list too. And the one that I couldn't believe you didn't take, I immediately kicked myself out of it because I took Spider-Man. But Rocket Raccoon in Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, I thought would have been there. Just from a sequence of the attraction and being vital to the attraction, I figured that would have been one of your like, oh well, this couldn't happen unless Rocket broke out and blah 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 blah, Disney. And I thought you would have like used that to sail to the wind, but you didn't even need it. So
he was in consideration. I think the last time I went there, he wasn't actually working. He didn't make an appearance. He had the B show turned on, so he was all on the screen. But other than that, no, you're right. I mean, could have been on the list. I think for me, I just ended up sticking toward more retro things for some reason. I think I did it subconsciously. I had I don't know if you can call this. This would have been a tough pick because I had it as a collective unit, not so much an individual one. But I mean, the Small World dolls, the children on that, like that's even an iconic. But we were picking one, like the specific one. Like I didn't just pick Jack Sparrow on Pirates; it was Jack Sparrow, the last one on it. So to pick one from Small World didn't really make a whole lot of sense. I think as a collective unit, it would have been great, but I think both of us did just fine.
I'm sure you do because you won. I don't think
Oh,
I did
yeah.
now, and I'm regretting every single moment, and I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. But it is what it is. Regardless, it is good to be back. I would rather be losing at this show than not doing this show. And so, what do you say we make this a
Amen.
regular thing again? Back to drafting the Magic, and we really haven't laid out how we're going to roll this out, what the scheduling is going to be. But we are glad to be able to be here because us recording this means that we're ready to do this again and bring some cool conversation back. And at least to one of our judges, Dustin Geisler, give him something to listen to on the way to work because that's what he always used was our beautiful voices. So it's good to be back, man.
Yeah, it is. Glad we could do it. Hopefully, we keep this thing rolling and get some more guests in here and have them criticize us on the show because that's what they're good at. That's why we bring them in.
And if not them, our loyal fans will do so as well.
Yeah.
Well, hey, it was good to come back, man. I'm glad we're doing this, and I guess we'll see you next time when you make it 4 in a row. I'm that confident. I'm that confident. I'm not doing good right now, but it's fine.
I'm gonna keep my trap shut.
Yep.
Not gonna jinx it.
Yeah. We'll see.